Hello, I'm Don Singletary, and welcome to the channel. The trade I've selected today, you're absolutely going to see one of the most highly leveraged, most capital-efficient ways for personal investors to better themselves with some part-time income. The Micro Eminis, they only came about 4 years ago, and they're trading millions and millions of these contracts every day now. One of the most popular CME, Chicago Merc contracts ever. These new 1/10 size Micro Emini stock equity index futures have been a real game changer. You'll be able to get 76-1 leverage in this modern stock replacement way of investing. And when I say game-changing, I want to show you what I mean. No $25,000 minimum account size so that you can day trade stocks. In this form of the Micro E-minis, you'll be able to trade with that huge high leverage, trade as often as you want without limits. And you should know with that high leverage comes high risk. So only allocate the portion of your funds that you can afford to expose to a higher risk category of trading. You get everything you need on the channel. I'm not selling any kind of trading system or software or anything. In fact, I've got 170 free videos on the channel for you to learn to be as good as you possibly can be at this type of trading. The featured trade in today's video is coming right up. I will try to sell you my book. Over 25,000 people have used it to help them learn to trade the Micro E-mini futures. I've got 500 plus 5-star reviews on Amazon. There's a link in the text below this video in the video description, and you can find a link to the Amazon page. Read some of the reviews and make up your own mind. The one thing the book does that really explains most of its value. It shows you what's important and what isn't. That makes it easier to learn and speeds up the learning curve. In today's featured trade, I'm going to be trading 2 of the S&P 500 Micro Emini contracts. Now, one contract trades for $5 a point. I'll be trading 2 contracts at the same time, so we'll be trading at $10 per point. Now, here's the part of the video where I do what I call the trade setup. Why this trade and why now? So let's get started. At the time I decide to begin on this trade, the market's been open for 23 minutes at 9:30 Eastern Time. And we have the MYM, the DJIA, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ100, and the Russell 2K, the Micro E-minis. The market is plummeting. The Dow's down 182, the S&P down over 24, NASDAQ 100 off 86 points, and the M2K almost 30 points. You know, I think the worst mistake, or the most common mistake, I should say, for the Micro E-mini traders is over trading. On days like today I just described, the trend is definitely down, and not just a little bit. So the trend definitely is your friend. I'm going to short a contract today, and since the market is going down pretty fast, I decided to short 2 contracts at one time and trade for $10 a point. I'm going to go back and look at the chart long before the 9:30 Eastern Time opening. You can see from about 5:55 in the morning up until our market opens at 9:30, there has been a definite downtrend for 3.5 hours. Well, if you're a subscriber of the channel, you've been with us a while, you know what a huge fan I am of trading psychology. Trading happens between your ears. There's no doubt about that. A lot more of it on a chart. And one of the things I want to share with you now is one of the main ingredients for good trade selection. You see that 3.5 hour trend I was just talking about up on the screen right now? That tells me that I won't have to risk very much money to find out if this market continues to go down. Now, it's showing that it definitely has gone down for the last 3.5 hours. There's no guarantee it won't stall or actually go up in the next few minutes during my trade. But the odds are much, much better for me, the trader, if I hop onto a trend and ride it. My favorite quote from one of the richest men in the world, Warren Buffett, is that we humans have a perversion to make simple things complicated. And I hasten to add, doing that, making simple things complicated, will cost you a lot of money when you're learning to trade. Let me make this whole thing simple for you. It's a 3.5 hour downtrend. I'm here. I want to trade. I've had the patience to wait or at least recognize a trend when I see it. And I know that I'll have better than 50-50 odds shorting contracts at this particular time. That's it. Trading is really that simple. But what's hard is we humans are not patient. We want to make simple things complicated, and we always, greed, fear, missing out, those emotions. And when you set a reasonable stop loss amount on a trade, it removes the adrenaline from the trade. Like, I'm going to know that the most I can lose is $10 or $15 or $20 or whatever it happens to be on that trade. And I wouldn't enter the trade unless I had the conviction that I was at least having a better than 50-50 chance to make some money on the trade. Now, here's something you should think about, and think about it often until you get the hang of it. How much money, I get asked very frequently, how do you determine how much money to risk on a trade? Well, as you can see in this trade, the stronger my conviction the market's going down, the higher I think my odds of making money are, and so therefore, the less money I'll need to risk to be able to make the trade. That's the way I think about it. Now, you have to learn that to make it work for you. Now, say again, you have to learn that to make it work for you. Why is that? Why is everybody different? Because we don't have the same fingerprints. We're all different. We have a different risk tolerance. And what you want to do, when I say trade in your comfort zone, what I mean is don't bet so much money on a trade or put yourself in a position that you're freaking out and your adrenaline takes over, because that's the time you'll make bad decisions. And you try to avoid that. Now, how much money are you going to risk on any given trade is kind of a balancing act. You've got your account size, you've got your risk tolerance, and you know where that is. Now, how do you know when your risk tolerance changes? Because you practice, you get more experience, you do it again and again and again, and like everything else in life, you approach it a little bit calmer than maybe the first few times you did it. Plus, you're learning your software, you're learning an entirely new kind of trading. It's perfectly normal. So when you do your practice trading, which I recommend before you go to live real money, think about these things and see how you're handling them, and try until when you get to a point where you're more comfortable with all the mechanics and everything that's going on, and you'll have a much, at least emotionally, a much smoother trade, and you'll feel more in control. You're not actually in control, the market is, but you know that. Okay, after all the gab, we're finally ready for the live screen. One quick thing before we get there and go into today's featured trade. I need your help. Hit the like button. And then why would you do that? Because it helps me determine, I tally the likes, it helps me determine which content to put in the new videos on the channel, which in turn, I hope helps you. Thank you for that. Okay, it's game on. Here's the live trade. The orange circles are the live trade price on the screen in the right margin and the top there. I initially shorted 2 contracts, and my stop order, as you can see, was $47.50, 4 3/4 points. Of course, the first thing I do, and you see it in almost all of my trades, is I take my Tasty Trade mouse and I move that stop down so I can reduce the risk on the trade. Now, about the only thing you can do once the trade is underway, you can't really tell the market how much money you want to make because it doesn't have ears, But I've got my stop down to $20, and the only thing I can do is reduce the risk on the trade and lock in some of the unrealized gains when and if they occur. That's all you can do after the trade's underway. When this kind of trade is underway, it can be a lot of fun, but most of the preparation is before you enter a trade. It's in trade selection and psychologically preparing yourself for learning to trade, and that means knowing yourself. And you only learn that by practice and experience. There are no shortcuts to learn that, and I remember the old Mike Tyson quote, "Everybody has a plan until you get smacked in the face." Thank you, Mike. Now I've got my Tasty Trade mouse again. I'm pulling that stop down, trying to lock in some of the profits here. I'm trading almost 47.60, 47.61, so I'm up $25 or $30, and I moved my stop down, so now I'm only at risk for $7.50. I can tolerate that. And now the stop's at $10. I moved it up, but only slightly. Now, things can happen fast. This trade is about to get busy. Watch this. All of a sudden, the market goes down. I'm 47.59 down there. So I take my tasty trade mouse again and pull that stop down to even money. I know nothing's free, but when I can't lose any money during a trade, I think of it as a free trade. To gain some experience, you're going to do what I'm doing right now. When you see prices moving fast in your favor, grab that mouse. Pull that stop loss down, lock in some profit. And if you want to yell, fish on, I'm okay with that. At some point after you do 10, 20, 30, or 40 or more of these trades, you're going to find out that you come to know exactly where you are at every second during the trade. Right now, I know I got $10 locked in and trading at 47.57. I've got an unrealized gain of $62.50. So I reach over, get my tasty trade mouse again, and I've got to lock in some more profit with this trade right away. I mean, what else can you do during a trade but seal your profits and reduce risk, period. Okay, get ready. 2 visual aids are about to pop up on the screen. My mouse, my tasty trade mouse, and the gecko. I have one eye on the tasty trade mouse, the stop loss, the other eye on the current trading price. Okay, let's make Warren Buffett proud. We're not going to make a simple thing complicated. I didn't say it was easy. I just said it was simple. The object of the game here, to state the obvious, I hope, is to get that stop loss price as close as I can to the trading price without getting tripped and stopped out. But if I do get stopped out, I still make a very nice profit. It's kind of win-win. So here we are, almost 5 minutes into the trade. Our stop loss down there at 47.58 3/4. We've locked in $45. That's our worst case scenario now. So make $45 in about 5 minutes. Now let me ask you a question. How many decisions in the last 5 minutes do you think I made on this trade? 5, 10, 15, 20, somewhere in that area, 15 to 25. Small decisions. And now I have one more that I'm making right now. I'm going to try to eke out just a little bit more profit. So I've moved my stop down to 47.58, and voila, I'm stopped out with a $52.50 profit in 5 minutes. You got to remember, and this is really important, your job as a beginner at this kind of trading, if you haven't done this before, it's not easy. It's not complicated, but it is definitely not easy. It can be very, very tricky. And as a beginner in anything, we don't know what we don't know, of course. And that's true of any endeavor in life. Okay, on the screen right now is a post-trade chart. We got out, see the little red dot there on the right, at 9:58 a.m. at a price, you remember, of 47.58. Well, 8 minutes later, look where the price is. Now, I'd love to be able to tell you that I'm that smart, and I knew that was going to happen, but that would be an absolute untruth. At the time of that red dot at 9:58, the only thing I knew is I had a $52.50 profit in 5 minutes, and I was not going to give it back. I had no idea what prices are going to do next, and you won't either. A bird in hand's worth 2 in the bush. That's the way you play this game. There is no other way to do it. Everything you see on a chart after the trade's over is history. It's not how the charts actually looked at the minutes and seconds while you were trading. I am shocked and appalled at how many people don't realize that. But the chart you see, if you're looking at an historical chart, is not going to be the same one that was there during the trade. Well, I hope you were able to pick up some pointers in today's featured trade. There's lots of free stuff in the text below the video here. Check it out. Links to the book, information about Tasty Trade, the broker I use here, and a special link for the beginner's playlist. Be sure and remember to subscribe to the channel. I'm Don Singletary, and I hope every day is a payday for you.